It was early Saturday morning. Birds were chirping, and the sun shined brightly through Chanel's bedroom window. She hoped she and Ronald were going to sleep in, but he got up at 9 o'clock and jumped in the shower. Chanel thought maybe he had plans to take her out to breakfast or brunch, but when he got out the shower and put his dress shirt on, she knew he was going to work. Complaining about it was a waste of time. She knew she would see him later, so she figured they could spend some real quality time together then, especially since the kids were sleeping over at a friend's house for the weekend and wouldn't be back until the next morning. They had dinner plans with other members of the firm, and she was so excited. She went shopping the day before to get a new dress for the occasion. It wasn't often that Chanel and Ronald went out. He worked all the time, while she was stuck at home taking care of their two little girls. After 7 years of marriage, she had become bored. When they first met, they were very close. Both grew up in Atlanta, and when they were juniors in high school, they started dating. The two attended the same college and both had big dreams to be successful. But when they got married, all that changed. Ronald became a successful lawyer, and Chanel, a housewife. This wasn't at all what Chanel thought she would be doing with her life. In college, she majored in marketing and minored in advertising. She had always dreamed of owning her own advertising agency, but she became lazy and allowed that dream to be pushed to the back burner, especially when she had her kids. Her main and only responsibility was to take care of her two little girls and allow her husband to do whatever he wanted to do, and she no longer desired to do anything other than that. Ronald wanted her home, and she didn't challenge him on it. Although Chanel was a homemaker, she had a housekeeper named Rose, who worked Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., and weekends when Chanel went out with her friends, which only happened once every 3 months. When she did go out, she would always get the same speech from Ronald about how her place was being at home with the kids. Sometimes she would make plans with her girls and suddenly cancel. It seemed every time she did go out, she had to make up some excuse as to why she was going out. It seemed like he was less likely to complain if there was some sort of emergency or something. Like the time her best friend Tasha was getting a divorce. She used to lie to Ronald, saying she was going to support and comfort her friend, who was taking it hard. Surprisingly, there was no comforting needed. Tasha was actually having an independence party, which included lots of alcohol, male bashing, and strippers. Chanel and Tasha were two peas in a pod, and Ronald didn't approve of their friendship. He felt like Tasha was a bad influence on Chanel, and that she was jealous of what Chanel had. Tasha knew how Ronald felt about her, and that she could only see her best friend every once in a while. Nonetheless, she respected their marriage. She was going to be Chanel's friend no matter what, whether it was from a distance or not. They had been through too much together for her to just let go. Having grown up together, Chanel and Tasha were like sisters. Their mothers were best friends. Tasha's mother died when she was a teenager, so Chanel's family took her in. They were inseparable, but Tasha knew the sacrifice she had to make to maintain that relationship with Chanel. She wanted Chanel to be happy, and if keeping Ronald off her back was the key to her happiness, she would go along with it. Tasha kept Chanel in the loop regarding who was sleeping with who was pregnant, and who was cheating. Tasha was the gossip queen, which is one of the reasons why Ronald didn't want her around Chanel. But Chanel didn't care. She needed the laughter and excitement that Tasha brought to her life. If it were up to her husband, Chanel wouldn't have any friends. Chanel called Tasha to ask her what she was doing. Since she didn't have the kids and didn't have to meet Ronald back at the house until 4 o'clock, she wanted to go check out her girl who she hadn't seen in weeks. The phone didn't even ring a second time before Tasha picked up. She couldn't get to the phone fast enough. She was happy that Chanel was calling her. She knew this meant she was going to get to see her girl. "Hello, where should I meet you?" she asked upon answering the phone, not letting Chanel get a hello out. "Well, hello to you too," Chanel said. "Girl, we're wasting time with all this high mess. Where should I meet you?" Tasha asked again. Chanel told her that she would meet her in 20 minutes at their favorite restaurant in Atlanta. The two hung up so they could make their way over to the spot. Having arrived at the restaurant first, Chanel sat waiting patiently for Tasha. She could hear Tasha coming in the door. Her best friend was arguing with the hostess for not knowing exactly where Chanel was sitting. Chanel and Tasha were total opposites. Chanel was very laid back, conservative, and calm. Tasha, on the other hand, was loud, aggressive, and more than anything else, dramatic. But she loved her girl, and nothing and nobody would keep them apart. "Well, hello, my love child," Chanel said as she stood up to hug her friend. "Hey, boo." Tasha's smile was bright, showing her excitement to see Chanel. She had so much to tell her. Tasha had been dating someone new, and she hadn't been able to share all the goodies with her girl. First, "How are the kids?" Tasha asked, then added, "Figured we'd get the mushy crap out the way." Chanel laughed. "They're fine. You should come by the house to see them." Tasha brushed that comment off. She and Chanel knew Ronald would not go for that. But that was okay. She would see them eventually. So, as the two ordered lunch and an afternoon cocktail, Tasha began telling Chanel about the new man in her life. Of course, Tasha had to add all the details that were not really necessary, but Chanel was just happy her friend was dating again. Seeing the smile on her face brought a bit of sunshine to Chanel's day. Tasha had a pretty rough marriage. Her husband, who was abusive, used to beat her all the time. One time, he beat her so bad that she lost the baby she was carrying. He went to jail for a couple of years, and Tasha divorced him while he was locked up. Considering how tough Tasha was with everyone else, one would never know that she had been extremely afraid of him. But she was now finally living her life, and without the fear, she made it through it all. And her best friend Chanel had been her support system. While the two were catching up, Chanel's cell phone rang. It was her husband. She thought maybe he got home early and was wondering where she was. She had no idea he was getting ready to cancel on her. "Hello," she answered. "Hey, baby. Look, we're going to have to cancel the plans for tonight. I got called back to the office for a meeting with a client. I don't know how late I will be, so don't wait up." "Wait. What? Where are you?" "I'm home. I came to grab a few things, and now I'm getting ready to head back to the office." Chanel was taken aback, but not surprised. Ronald was good for canceling on her. She felt like he worked entirely too much. She didn't get to see him that often, and spending quality time with him was out of the question. She was frustrated about it, but what was she going to do? Leave? If so, where would she and the children go? "Ronald, I was looking forward to spending some time with you. The kids are gone, and we haven't been out together in months." "Chanel, don't start this crap right now. You know I have to work. I will see you later on when I get home." Before Chanel could get another word out, Ronald hung up the phone. She was pissed, and you could see it all in her face. Tasha just looked at her friend and shook her head. Tasha knew Ronald may be doing a lot more than just working, but it wasn't her place or her business to make any assumptions. Her job was to be there for her friend when necessary. Chanel sat quietly for a minute, but then figured she would just deal with it later. Tasha decided to step in and suggest the two make plans for later that night. She had to get back to the shop, but would be free after 4 o'clock. Besides, her new male friend was out of town anyway, so she didn't have anything else to do. The two decided they would go out later for some drinks and maybe a little dancing. Chanel had wanted so badly to spend time with her husband. but this would be the perfect opportunity for her and her girl to hang out like old times. Sunday morning had come, and Ronald was just getting in the house at 3 a.m. Chanel was furious. She was so tired of this. She had sacrificed so much and was stuck doing what she had to do, not what she wanted to do. For years, she had put up with the neglect he showed her and the girls. Some nights, he wouldn't even come home, claiming he fell asleep at the office. When he traveled, she wouldn't even get to talk with him the whole time he was away. He would call her from the airport when he landed at his destination, and she wouldn't talk with him again until he got home. In part, she blamed herself. She always let things go. She never addressed the problems she had in her marriage. She thought maybe if she just kept silent, things would get better. True, he was a great provider, but he lacked in everything else. At that moment, she decided she would do what she wanted to do. She wanted to follow her dreams. Advertising was her passion, and she would no longer put it off. When her husband got in the bed, he tried to cuddle with her. She could smell the perfume and the liquor on his breath. Instead of getting angry, she just pushed him off of her and went back to sleep. The kids would be home around 10 o'clock that morning, so she wanted to get some more rest. When they got in, all time and energy would be focused on them. The phone rang around 10:15 a.m., and by now, Chanel was up and dressed. She answered the phone, but as soon as she said hello, the person on the other end hung up. She looked at the caller ID to see who it was, but the number said private. Distracted by the caller doorbell, she hung the phone up and went to open the door for her girls. Her beautiful daughters were back from a weekend-long sleepover at a friend's house. As soon as they saw her, they jumped on her to give her hugs and kisses. They all turned to wave at the other parent who had dropped them off, then went inside and closed the door. "Did you girls have fun?" she asked them. They both answered yes in unison. She told them to put their bags in their rooms and then go say good morning to their father. Chanel knew this would upset Ronald, especially considering he had gotten in late and was still sleeping. But Ronald knew he had to acknowledge his girls. It was a football Sunday, and Ronald was home for a change. However, later, he would find a reason to have to go out. Work was the main excuse, as he knew she couldn't really argue about that. But she often pointed out to him that he didn't always have to go to the office, since they had an office at the house as well. He knew she had a point, so he figured out different excuses to use. Chanel and the girls hung out in the theater room for most of the day watching movies. They only came out to eat lunch and dinner. Chanel loved her girls. They meant everything to her. She just wished she could be a mother and have the career she wanted as well.